update on Leesburg Elementary School. And I'd just like to start by reiterating
Dr. Patrick Galapagos.
About the Leesburg community and the schools there. I feel so blessed to have come here to Lake County. I feel just so warmly welcomed by my colleagues, my fellow principals, and by the district office. They've been just amazing. Many members of the school board staff whom I've already met as well. I just want to thank you for welcoming me here to Lake County, and I'm very, very excited to be here. So, with no further ado, next slide, please. Our data snapshot. Last year, we achieved a grade of F. Our total points earned was 358, which among our traditional schools, I believe, was the lowest point total in Lake County in terms of our traditional public elementary schools. Percent at levels 3, 4, and 5 in math was 43%. In reading, 39%. Writing, levels 3 to 5 was only 41%. And in science, it was 39%. If we look further into the data at our percent of students that achieved learning gains in reading and math, respectively, we're looking at 48% and 50%. And our lowest 25% students, the students that really struggle the most and have the most obstacles to overcome, 52% made learning gains in reading and only 46% in math. And our free and reduced lunch population is 85%. So those are some alarming statistics, and certainly we know, and when I say we, myself, my leadership team, all of the teachers and staff at Leesburg Elementary School, we know that we can do better. And so we are really committed. We had a wonderful morning coming together with the school staff, and I am very pleased with the level of commitment and the level of expertise that we've been able to hire on staff this summer. I have filled 35 vacancies since I came on July 8th, and I want to say that I feel very confident that we hired the right people and they're right for the job. They're ready to work and to jump in there. We've disaggregated some of our data. If you look at the 2014 student data, I wanted to isolate where our level 1 readers are. We had 126 students that scored level 1 as readers, which is almost a third of all of the level 1 readers in the 4 F schools in our Leesburg community. So a substantial number are right here at Leesburg Elementary School. Out of those students, they generated 464 discipline referrals, 114 suspensions. The discipline referrals is about a quarter of the total referrals for the entire school, just those kids. Suspensions is about a fourth of the suspensions at the whole school, 114, and they collectively had 1,245 absences. And so that data helps us to see where our barriers are. So we want to really focus on discipline, and we want to really focus on getting our kids in class so that they can perform and be exposed to the kind of instruction they need to see and experience to continue to be successful on our state tests. Next slide. Our overall goals based on our data are that we'll decrease the number of discipline referrals, number of in and out of school suspensions, which will result in less classroom disruptions and more fluid instruction in our classrooms. I felt that one of the main reasons, after looking at the data, talking to teachers and members of the community, was they really didn't have the opportunity to get in on a regular daily basis and teach the standards due to those factors of the discipline issues and, of course, the attendance data. So by fixing those areas, we can get our kids in class in an area so that they can be focused on instruction, and our teachers can teach the standards. We have some wonderfully talented teachers that are ready to move forward and teach those standards to our children. We just need to get them in class, ready to learn. Our second goal is to increase our daily attendance rate, resulting in closing the achievement gap in our subgroups. We're seeing some differences in attendance rates among the subgroups. So again, we want to make sure that all of our children are receiving all of the instruction that they deserve. And we want to increase the effectiveness by which all teachers differentiate standards-based instruction. I feel that we've been able to hire a number of extremely high qualified coaches, and our goal is to get them in the classrooms to model and to share best practice and to Give our teachers feedback about their own instructional practices to ensure that they are teaching those Florida standards to a high level of rigor. Once we get those obstacles out of the way, we have a strong belief that our teachers have the skills and the knowledge and the resources to back them up to make that great instruction happen in all of our classrooms every day. Next slide. Our action plan. We're going to implement procedures for arrival, dismissal, hallway, cafeteria attendance, restroom, and assembly, in addition to strengthening the practices in our classrooms to make sure that our kids are focused on instruction. We're going to utilize our potential specialists and family school liaison to identify barriers and provide support for attendance and tardy issues. And we're also going to implement a reward incentive program to encourage in a positive way those practices. We're going to implement a standards-based learning that will focus on staff development, writing across the curriculum, and MTSS as strategies to give our teachers the skills they need to target where our students are struggling the most. And we're going to literally operate on a 6-day schedule. We have a Saturday school that will start this Saturday, and we'll meet probably every Saturday for the entire school year. And that is to supplement instructions for students who miss class due to discipline and attendance issues. And essentially the way it works is the state of Florida has given us 180 days to teach our children. And many of our children are missing, well, 20%, or actually 10% of our kids missed 20 or more days last year. It's a huge amount of class to miss. And so we're targeting our Saturday school to give back our students the instruction they missed, should they be removed from the class due to discipline or attendance issues. So if I have a student that has to be removed from the class for 5 hours during the course of the week, because they can't focus, they're having trouble getting along with their classmates, they're disrespectful, that student will come to school Saturday and make up the 5 hours of instruction they have missed over the course of the week. We're committed to ensuring that all of our children receive the instruction they need and deserve to be successful. So if a student's ability to manage themselves in the classroom is keeping them from learning, we're going to make sure they get that made up on Saturday. Same with attendance. After they miss so many days, they have to make up their days at Saturday school. I view 180 days of instruction as a privilege and as a right of our students. It's not a punishment, and it'll be presented to our parents as it's not a punishment, it's not a consequence for your child missing, but it's an opportunity for us to ensure that they're getting the instruction they need and deserve so they can be successful. I know they need 180 days of instruction to prepare for the rigor of our new state assessments. That's the reality. Our kids have to be in class, they have to be in school. So these are some of the strategies that we're utilizing to make sure that we can provide that instruction to our students. Next slide. Strengths and considerations. 33% of the faculty and staff have remained at Leesburg Elementary School since it opened 10 years ago, and they're a high-quality core. We're going to add to that core with the people we've hired this summer and with our support staff. It's a great foundation in place for a mentoring program, already exists there. We're going to grow and expand that mentoring program. The community response to the initiatives that we're undertaking are extraordinarily positive. I feel very welcome in Leesburg. I feel welcome by the parents, by the teachers, by the staff, and by the broader community. I feel like we have the backing of our community to create the kind of success that we need and deserve in our school. 2013-14 data showed the lowest quartile in reading at 52%, which is an improvement. 5th grade science increased by 4 percentage points, and 50% showed improvement in math. And our 3rd grade STEM Bowl team placed 3rd in the district. Those are all positives that we're going to continue to build on. Other considerations, attendance and tardy, discipline, and creating the ability and the opportunity for our teachers to teach standards-based instruction and to monitor the students for success based on our support in helping to remove those barriers that are currently standing in the way of them teaching those standards to a high level in the classroom. Do you have any questions?
Anyone have a question? Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Now we'll hear from Beverly Shores Elementary, Miss Kathy Tater.
as you can see, we went up in some areas, went down some. Overall, we went up 3 points. Not much, we didn't go backwards. We increased in fifth grade across the board, and we increased in science, and our science teachers were due to what's called Science Boot Camp. And we'll continue with that this year, plus adding some more to it. We know exactly where our problem areas. We knew third grade was going to be tough this year. We had a lot of ones that went to twos. We feel like that is why we ended up making the D. As far as disciplinary infractions go, you see 175 in the third grade. It might have not been 175 different people, which I know it wasn't. But I want to make you aware of, we know where our areas of concern are. We're very good at RTI. We do get our students where they need to be. Fourth grade, again, I think we have some that we were still cleaning up, getting into under the ESE umbrella. And we do have an in-school mentor first before we go into the other areas of the discipline. As far as absences go, we already have a plan, and we have 2 churches that are willing to help us out with our idea from the meeting the other night, contacted more, but we're going to work on trying to get those attendance down below 10%. I'd like to have it a lot more, but with our students, the biggest thing is we've got to get them every morning, and we will do our best there. Any questions on that? Okay. Overall goals. I like Dr. Christian's analogy, and I used it this morning, of turning the aircraft carrier. We spent 3 years turning it by getting the right people there, the right team. We know how to teach the low really well. Now we got to go that one step up, and that's what we're going to work for this year, really hard. We've got a great group of people there now. We've got extra support, which we appreciate. But you'll see our first goal is we will improve the fidelity of instruction of writing in response to text across all content areas. That's the key. And we've also put in a area of on the wheel that will be computers, where there's going to be a lot of learning how to write, especially for the 5th graders, because their test is going to be on the computer this year, and they're going to be able to write sentences. So we're starting now. We're going to hit them double with that. Number 2, we'll place an emphasis on the process and fidelity of standards-based differentiated instruction at Tier 1 core instruction. Exactly what we just said. We know how to hit that low. We know how to hit the medium. Now we've got to bump it up. I think our quality of students, though, coming out of the lower grades is better, because we've been working at this for 3 years now, so they're getting better quality where you start getting the grades. Goal 3, we'll improve the fidelity of the gradual release process of our K2 Tier 1 core. I've had 2 reading coaches. After that first year, we had the DA, it was Dr. Kathy Schuler. And I asked her then, she said yes. So we've had 2 reading coaches in both the lower grades and the upper grades. We've not left alone K2. So that's why I'm saying we're going to get a better, I hate to say product, core coming in, so you'll see better. Questions on that? Okay. Action plan. The 60-minute reading block, we have made sure, we work with them very closely on this, that we have the 90-minute plus the 60-minute. They're both uninterrupted. We've had to switch a little bit around about kindergarten going to a lunch late on one day, but we made sure what we're doing, which will be teacher instructed, but small group based on skill level needed in that extra 60 minutes. We have the continuation of common planning centered around standards-based instruction, weekly PLCs for thinking maps, and we're starting our 3-year plan for thinking maps as a thinking map school starting Thursday. So we've got that going starting now. Providing more opportunities for students to write in response to text. That's kind of repeating what we said. But we're doing that through having a part on our wheel, computer class, plus in the classrooms, and also our 5th grade is going to get an extra 30 minutes a day because we've got to get them ready for that test coming up. Vertical team planning once per 9 weeks. We're also adding extra time for them to do that 3-hour planning each 9 weeks for each team. Monthly literacy leadership team meetings and implementation of a literacy newsletter. This is something that was brought up. We saw it at Sawgrass Bay. Our teachers liked it, and with our new accelerated resource teacher and our reading coach and our CR2, they want to do this. I said, good. Implementation of inquiry cycle to guide improvement of teaching practice. This is a little bit more than just the lesson study. It's planning based on relevant student data, observing and conferring about instruction, then analyzing student work is individual. So we're going to really go after the individual teachers, especially the new ones, maybe some that were struggling and didn't have as good results on their data, on how their students did. Questions? Okay. All right, strengths and considerations. PBS program. We've been doing that. We've gotten better and better about that. We have what's called oh yeah tickets. Oh yeah, you did good. And everybody wears a lanyard. But we're big on the positive, and we can do the negative if we have to. We also have Mr. Brett, big Mr. Brett, who's our in-school mentor. Okay? Accelerated resource teacher, great help. Thank you. Math coach this year. We talked about the half-day grading. Instructional dean. I was lucky enough to be able to get the staff to approve and the county to approve us training in a position. And this is what this is going to do, is free up administration to do what we need to do, which is be in the classrooms more. High-quality TAs. We have a lot of TAs that are working on their degrees, and they are almost there. We've got some really good TAs, so they're not, and we have some very good ones that have been in the system a long time, too. We have a lot of them that are working on their degrees. I think this is a big factor. If you look at that, 79% of our faculty missed only 0 days last year. They really care about our kids, and they want to get this right. We've got to work more on our classroom walkthroughs. We know that. We've already got a plan started, and again, I'm going to thank the district for the extra help and support, but also getting that instructional dean. It's going to help a lot. Student authentic work, right along with that, making sure we keep it up. More eyes in the classroom. Increased presence and common planning. Again, that's because we have those extra people. We can go back and forth and be in there more. Review of the early warning system, feedback and communication. That's it. That's weekly, daily, whatever. It's just when you get caught up in the day-to-day of doing the school, you get caught up in what you shouldn't be rather than in the academic part. So I think we turned the battleship, not the battleship, we saying the wrong things, aircraft carrier. And that's what I said this morning. Now we're ready to go forward. And I'm not just saying that, I think we really are there.
Great. Anybody have a question?
And this is Monica Gordon, also my assistant principal. We had a lot to do this too.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Beverly Shores, Kathy and Monica. And now we'd like to welcome Eustis Heights Assistant Principal Chad Frazier and Principal Rhonda Hunt to present their plan.
Ms. Hunt, you want to pull that mic down a little bit?
Presentation. Well, good afternoon, Superintendent and board members. Well, today was a new day at Eustis Heights Elementary School. We had our first morning, and we had a great morning. I just want to report, we got off to a really good start. We started our 20-mile march. We're using the Jim Collins Good to Great theme this year. We're deliberate. We're going to be creative. We're building relationships. We're starting with relationships, relevance, and rigor. The relevance is our new Florida State standards, and the rigor is supporting what the teachers are doing in the classroom. So we're very, very excited. And I want to also thank the DA team, Katie's group that was there this morning, very motivational for us, helped us set some goals and really get off to a great start this year. We are fully staffed. We are looking for a third, fourth gifted teacher, and if I could make any suggestions, I would say to really look at trying to encourage our wonderful teachers in Lake County to look at teaching our gifted students and helping them support getting their credentials that they need. So, but otherwise, we're fully staffed. We had 5 new teachers to hire, so as you can see, we have a real loyalty and allegiance to our staff at Eustis Heights Elementary School. Also, the second week after I started at Eustis Heights Elementary, we had a meeting of 30 members of the community, from our county commissioners to church groups to individual private businesses from the Chamber of Commerce. We had just an outpouring of community support for Eustis Heights Elementary. Very supportive, as you all know, of our school uniforms. I said I wasn't going to mention that, but I am going to mention that. So, because it is part of our plan, we're very hopeful. We've had a lot of community support for that, as well as I really want to tell you something very exciting that I haven't seen happen before in a community, and I'm hoping that it might start a precedent for other communities in Lake County. And that is that the second day after this meeting, there was a city council meeting with the county commissioners, and we're privileged also to have right now the mayor of Eustis Heights as our ESE school specialist, Linda Bob. We had 4 of the 5 county commissioners at our breakfast. They were so supportive that they passed an agreement saying that their city employees could take 1 hour once a week volunteering, but during their workday, to come mentor a child. Now, to me, that is amazing, and it's wonderful. Our mentoring program is going to be very strong for our children this year, and they got us off to a good start. So we're just very thankful and very excited from the community support. Our vision is very simple: A school. We're going to be an A school next year. I'm going to stick to my promise. Okay? We're going to be an A school according to the Florida school grading system. We want to be the pride of Eustis and help students embody success at the heart. And Chad Frazier, our assistant principal, he's going to help share this presentation with me. He's going to give you our mission and report our data.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Superintendent, board meetings, board members. Our mission at Eustis Heights Elementary School is, at its best, we will provide a successful learning community where all students will meet their potential for the present and their future, guided by staff and with the support of the Eustis community, which is pivotal in our success. Next slide, please. You take a look at our data snapshot, I put it in a graph format to try to make it a little bit more visibly appealing and easier to read. The yellow highlighted areas are areas of improvement, and areas that are highlighted in red are areas of decline or areas of stagnant growth. The first you can see are our percentage of level 3 and above in reading. In 2013 we were 41%. In 2014 we remained at 41%. That's one of our major focus issues, is obviously the literacy skills of our students and ensuring that we're providing them with adequate standards-based rigorous instruction. Our percentage of levels 3 and above in math in 2013 was 45%. We gained to 52%, so we can see there's some definite instructional relevance that's occurring, and we want to continue that momentum. Our percentage of levels 3.5 and above in writing was at 32%, and in 2014 we raised to 33%. Our percentage of levels 3 and above in science was at 35% in 2013. It raised to 34%, or dropped to 34%, it's an area of decline. Our percentage of improved in reading was at 60% in 2013 and dropped to 46%. So you can see there's a significant instructional impact that occurred, dropping from 60% to 46%, which is what we definitely want to hold in on. Our percentage improved in math, in 2013 we were 61%, in 2014 we were at 68%. So once again you can see that trend in mathematics instruction where we're seeing some continued growth. So we definitely want to continue that momentum there as well. Our percentage of the lowest quartile improving in reading in 2013 was 55%. We dropped to 53%. This is obviously an area of concern when we're talking about our lowest quartile students, our FCAT 1s and 2s, or our previous FCAT 1s and 2s, and addressing those and make sure we're supporting those students and differentiating our instruction. Our percentage of lowest 25% improving in math was in 2013 at 60%, and we dropped to 59%. So once again, you can see that is an area of decline in our lowest quartile within our school. Other relevant data, we had 94% attendance rate, we had 87% free and reduced lunch rate, and our total number of referrals for the previous year was 271 referrals.
Our overall goals, we have a strategic cultural goal, and that is that the faculty and staff will join in creating a collaborative and supportive environment, holding high expectations in the beliefs that all students succeed. The relevant relevant SMART goal is to increase attendance 94 to 98% and a 10% decrease in behaviors that lead to referrals. The strategic academic goal is that the faculty and staff, through high expectations of student success, will provide ambitious instruction that is rigorous and standards-based with a strong focus on gaining and applying literacy skills. That word is going to be very common across our campus, literacy skills, but that means in reading in all academic areas. And I have to tell you too that we are looking at the focus on improving student achievement in tutoring and after-school tutoring. We're going to start the first 3 weeks of school tutoring students 2 times a week. And we're going to do that throughout the 7 months. We're not going to just stop when we have our state exam in the spring. We also are kind of beginning with the end in mind, and that we're looking at tutoring next summer. We know we have a lot of level 1s and 2s. We're still going to have level 1s and 2s, and we're looking at providing a summer school program for them as well. So we're just not looking at, we're looking at 1 year, we're looking at a phase in of 2 years. Our relevant SMART goal is that our baseline scores in tested areas will fall in the 70th percentile of statewide achievement. What we're telling our teachers is to look at all their students. Look at your 18 students, look at your 22 students. Look at where they are. Your goal is that 70% of your students will be on grade level. Wherever they are, 70% of your students will be on grade level. That is your goal. That is our school goal. That is your classroom goal for all your students. And we can get there. This may be adjusted to different goals for subject or grade levels, but all students will show 5% growth of each district assessment, both mid-year and in the school year. So that will be at least 10% of where they are, but we want to get them to 70%. We're not looking, for example, if 45% of the students are on grade level, this year we want to get to 50. That could mean 12 more students. We really want overall our campus to permeate that success in every grade level. So that's what we're working towards. The strategic academic goal is that faculty and staff will increase the interaction of cross-curricular writing that is rigorous and standards-based throughout the FCIM model. And we'll be also integrating our reading and writing into that hour additional time that we have during the day with the students. And it will also be focused on their individual grade level, where they are individually in their academic progress. And we're going to be looking at what we call our DIAL program, which is taking the students on their level, dividing them among the teachers, where we're working on remediation, we're working on grade level academics, and then we're working on enrichment to enrich our higher level 3s and 4s. The relevant SMART goal is that students will be 50% on grade level at mid-year assessments, that's in December, and after data's been analyzed, we will utilize our plan, do, check, and act, that's the Florida Continuous Improvement Model, to ensure we're addressing instructional concerns as well as skill-specific student remediation, and we'll be adjusting teaching as we go. Our action plan is aggressive accountability plan for ELA, math, and science. Our strategic cultural goal is to provide attendance incentives for students who meet attendance goals. We know we've had an attendance problem. And we talked this morning about, we look at the academics, we also look at the social emotional side of the child. We want them to be at school, and we want to have incentives. We don't want this to be punitive, we want them to work towards their goals. Each student's going to have a student data notebook. This is kindergarten through 5th grade. They're going to have an academic goal. They're going to have a Covey goal. We're teaching the students the 7 habits of highly effective people. They're going to have a Covey goal, and they're going to have an academic achievement goal. They'll be adjusting that every 9 weeks at report card time. So we're going to have incentives for attendance, and they're very simple incentives. We're going to have popcorn parties, we're going to have ice cream sundae parties, lots of good things, lots of treats. Kids get popsicles at lunchtime, and then if they make their overarching large goal, you know, for attendance and academics improve a grade level, we're going to take them on a field trip. So they're going to have a lot of incentives for improvement. We're going to provide these. We're going to also provide these through school-wide PBS programs to ensure students are aware of the expectations and consequences. We want them to become independent for their learning. The strategic academic goal is to ensure all staff are highly qualified and trained with appropriate professional development. We're going to use our Wednesdays for professional development, and we're going to make use of other times where we will be able to actually provide stipends for teachers for training. We're going to have weekly, monthly, and quarterly progress monitoring based on the new requirements. We're going to provide an additional hour explicit literacy instruction using curriculums such as SIPs, options, and junior grade books to ensure differentiation for all students. We're going to create independent learners using our student data notebooks, including a quarterly COVID goal and academic achievement goal. And the strategic academic goal 2 is we're going to do classroom walkthroughs that will occur daily, on a daily basis by the leadership team. And we're going to analyze that data, and we're going to look at trends that really match our Marzano model for academic student achievement. We're going to look at those trends, and we're going to look at the strengths, and we're going to look at the weaknesses, and we're going to improve our weaknesses. There's going to be common planning. Will be monitored by the leadership team. If it's Tuesday at Eustis Heights, it's common planning. Then we have the rest of the few days to really tweak those and make those lessons rigorous for our next week. So we're going to work as a team, and they're going to work to the full extent of the standards, and also with a writing connection. And the core content area, journaling, will occur on a daily basis. We've ordered journals for all of our students for writing, math, reading, and science. They're going to do a lot of writing, and our little kindergarten students are going to be writing with a lot of pictures to begin with, okay? I'm going to let Chad talk about our strengths and considerations.
Our strengths that will help continue moving us towards our goals, one being our data analysis. An example would be our quarterly teacher talks that drive their instruction. It also gives a data snapshot to the leadership team who sits in on these quarterly teacher talks, and it gives them a viewpoint of every student within the school and where potential issues are with RTI or MTSS or academic or discipline issues as well. We have classroom walkthroughs that is going to be a strength. Continual progress monitoring. Our science boot camp that was implemented at the very end of last year in 5th grade, we are going to continue that implementation in 5th grade as well as expanding it to 3rd and 4th grade. We've seen some great results in other schools as well. We're also implementing Pen to Learning for science and math instruction as well to ensure that all of our students have access and the capability to that program as well. Our positive math games are a strength. We're going to have 7 months of after-school skills-specific tutoring focusing solely on literacy skills, which is a major area that we have to look into. Grade level planning is also a strength. Considerations are going to be parent involvement. Providing a family dinner once a month along with literacy-based strategies for our parents is one of our action plans that we have as far as our parent and community involvement. Our parent community literacy is also a consideration. Our discipline, planning and instructing to the full extent of the standards, which is aligned to our school-wide plan, and writing throughout every core content area as well. Are there any questions we can answer for you?
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Very good presentation.
Thank you, and I welcome you all to come visit us this school year. We look forward to it.
We will. Dr. Christensen, I'm going to ask you if, I know we have 4 more presentations to go, if we could have everyone come on down front here, and we have Oak Park next, then we'll have Spring Creek Elementary School.
No, actually, the order of things is
Humanities.
milestones, then
Spring Creek, and if we could just keep following one another, that would be great, unless you have any introductions. Okay, that'd be great. We want to be very respectful of time. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Longo from Oak Park Middle School, and we have our snapshot should be up there. We had 443 this year. We were 2 points from the, we were 2 points from the. We had 443, like I said, last year. Their earned points were 415. So we had a 28-point gain of overall points. Reading, we went from 32 to 37, so we had a positive 5 there as well. Math was our area of, we reduced by 4, we went from 40 to 36. Writing was another weak area, we flatlined, 25 across from 13 to 14. Science, we had a positive 2. I'll take any positive I can get. We're on our way up. The lowest gains, 25% in reading, we had a 16-point increase of our lowest 25. In math, again, another area that we are seriously concerned about was a negative 8. So we dropped from my lowest quartile of math as well. Discipline was a huge, huge fix. We had 4,000 referrals in 2013. We had 1419 we finished the year with. Of course, that had a big impact on my attendance. That shot me up to 19.8. We are looking at the attendance and how to deal with that with our PBS. Can y'all hear me? I really don't like microphones, can you tell? Our retention, we had 112 retentions, and it's not on that slide, but we only had 10 this year. We implemented and tried to talk to the students and get them to, they only failed 1 grade, they doubled up. If they failed science, 1 core, they failed science, they doubled up and took 2 sciences rather than being failed the entire 6th grade year, the 7th grade year. So that helped a lot of them out. A lot of them went to summer school, and it really helped them. Our overall goals, to improve reading from 37% to 47%. Reading is a strength right now that we have. We're working really hard with our coaches and getting in the classroom and working on what we need to work on, making sure those small groups are being done in the reading. Math, it's not an excuse, it's a reality. Out of my 5 math teachers, 3 of them were subs in and out all year. So we hold that, we're looking at that piece right there, but we're going to raise our math score to 36 to 46, if not higher. Math is my personal goal, that I will make sure we move that math. The writing proficiency by at least 10%. Our goal is to increase the writing proficiency through the cores, the cross-curricular integration, and make sure that we're doing that. The unknown is how that's going to be assessed with the Florida standards. So the writing is a piece that we're worried about right now, but we are going to work on that with our new writing plan when we get back. Our action plan. We have a full implementation of the standard-based instruction. We're going to make sure with our classroom walkthroughs that our coaches, we have it on our iPads this year. We borrowed something from East Ridge. It will all come back and feedback will come automatically to me. When they go through the classroom and they plug in questions like, did you see small group? Do you see student-centered activities? Do you see student engagement? Do you see, and they can add that in, and once they hit submit, it comes directly to me. So I did borrow that, and I really like that, so we can put all that together to watch and monitor the classroom walkthroughs. Wicker, we're going school-wide. Wicker is the AVID strategy, the writing, the inquiry, the collaboration, the organization, and the reading. We are going school-wide. We're going to force that as a non-negotiable. We were able to purchase notebooks for every single student. They have a 4-inch binder now. They have dividers. They will have the pencil pouch, the pencils, and the highlighters in there. So every student has that. We heard a lot of positive because those notebooks are $10 a piece. Some of our families have 3 and 4 children, so it added up for them. So they were very happy to know they didn't have to do that. The implementation of the cross-curricular collaboration planning, the extra time. This year, I was able to make the schedule. Last year, it was already made for us. So we gave them over the discipline. So first period, we'll have all social studies. Second period, we'll have the reading and then the language arts. We have 1 time a week for cross-curricular, so they will meet either on a Wednesday hour, and we will have extra funds to do that, or a Tuesday, whichever they decide. PLCs will also meet once a week. The strategies will evaluate the instructional practice. We will examine the student artifacts and the connection that the students are making to the instruction and to that final piece that they produce. We will identify the deficiencies and close those learning gaps on multiple data sources, and what are we going to do differently? If they didn't get it, what are we going to do differently, and how do we know if they got it that second time? We will implement a push in tutoring to increase the effectiveness of the differentiated instruction. We have a TA, a literacy TA that will be coming, that will be working with our intensive classes. We were able to add 2 intensive math classes, 1 in 7th, 1 in 8th, to help us with that sub that we had those problems with from last year. So they will go in and work with small groups. The non-load-bearing teachers will also go into those classrooms and assist. And KU is our Nights Unite, is our homeroom that we're having, that we've put into our schedule that we'll also do a pullout. My coaches do a pullout with that KU. They will go and they will take that teacher, they will let the teacher go work with the small groups, and they will watch that mentoring, my KU, my homeroom. And then the administrators, we will also go in as we go through. We will not be on a schedule though, because anything can happen. Implementation of the PLC, the learning communities with a focus on the data-driven instruction and high-yield instructions. We're going to focus on Marzano. We have the Kagan strategies, the thinking maps, already identified many of the school-wide focus strategies, for example, the Avid and the notebook, making sure they have that, the Cornell notes, making sure the math department. We were fortunate over the summer, some of our teachers have 30 hours that we were able to pay them to come on in, to look at the standards, to understand where we're going, to look at that data, to disaggregate it and go. So we have about 80% of my staff. They already got their foot in the door with the Florida standard. They already got their foot in the door with the scope and sequences. So we're moving in that right direction. We're also going to do labs for math, reading, and science. We're going to try to implement in the morning. Since we start so late, we're going to use that time in the morning to grab those students to get them. We're going to continue our cultural diversity training with the parent component and our FSL. This is the Betty Coney workshop that we have. Her piece starting with the parents is coming in. Should be starting here soon, where the parents will come in. We'll teach them how to do things. We're going to bounce off with Patrick from Leesburg Elementary and the rest of the Leesburg schools, using the television show that I didn't know Leesburg had, to kind of train parents and go with that and put that parent piece in there. Our strengths and our considerations. Our strengths are teacher retention. Last year when I first came to Oak Park, we had 65% teachers that we were able to retain. So just like Leesburg Elementary, we had a lot of hiring my first year. We retain, 96% of my teachers are returning this year. 96. And the 2 that left were because they moved out of state. So we retained just about everyone there. And our Tier 1 systems we've already developed and identified and have that moving. Our positive relationships with our school cultures. That is there. If you've been on my campus, you can tell there's a whole different atmosphere there. The pride's back, the respect's back. The students want to be there. And we are moving. It's a slow climb, but we're going to get there. I have no doubt we will get there. Calming planning time by department. The teachers wanted that, so we put that in there. We've given them extra time for that. Our data chats. We take some time with our data chats. The funds that Dr. Christensen was talking about, we're going to utilize those funds to allow them more time to do that collaboration and that top time to go through there. Proactive staff development. Our summer trainings, like I said, 8% of my staff, they've got 30 hours under their belt that we've hit, and with our writing teams and getting that. Our barriers is the understanding the shifts that we all have to make and making sure that it's being done. We're going to do classroom walkthroughs. I've committed to doing 2 to 3 days a week in the classrooms, walking through, making sure that it's happening. My assistant principal will do the same. My coaches will do the same. The rigorous instruction. Making sure they know what that looks like. A lot of my teachers previously had no idea what it was. Rigorous instruction was making them work harder, and they missed the boat, some of them. But we have that under wraps now. The prerequisite skills that the students don't have, that they come to. Oak Park is turning itself around. We are not a remediation school. We are an acceleration school, and we are going to accelerate. And we've got to get out of that mindset that we do not remediate. You know, in the small groups, yes. Differentiated instruction, yes. On a whole, no. Let's accelerate, let's move. We're also looking at the Achieve 3000 that the district had purchased for our school. They gave us 250 licenses. We are looking at purchasing that for the entire school. Put every student on there to really get those Lexiles up and just knock reading out of the ballpark. Strategies to use with the resistant learner. There is a few out there. There's a few other Barbara Longos out there in our classrooms that are not going to learn despite what we do. So how do we deal with them? How do we help them? Where do we go with them? And we're hoping with the parent piece, that will take care of it all in itself.
Very good. Any questions, comments?
Come on, Roseanne. Ah, you had one.
Well, the comment that I have for all of you that have presented thus far, you have worked so hard on your plans, and I know that all of these are doable plans. And to hear the retention that you had from last year, this you're going into your second year. And I am just so encouraged that, you know, Leesburg is going to outshine every other area in Lake County. And I will make that challenge to anybody else. It's just that, you know, there haven't been, you know, questions or comments, truly because you all have been so thorough, every one of you, in the presentations that you have made. You know, the challenge is to go back and to do it and to stay with it and to see it through. But I have no doubt that you all can't do it. And, you know, please call on me because I will be there. You know I will be there. So thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It sounds corny, but we're about the light of Leesburg.
Go, Ms. Long, go, go.
I'll help you flip that switch.
We got it.
Yeah. I actually have a question, Dr. Christensen, about this report. So, if we have, and this one was the most relevant that we just presented on the part, but if we have a 47% in proficiency, that means 53% aren't proficient. And in math, we have 46, which means 54% aren't. And in writing, you're going to have 35% that are going to be at proficiency. So ultimately, what is the objective? How do we get everyone where they're competent or at grade level to move ahead?
Well, I know.
And it's consistent across all of these we've heard.
Ms. Longo referred to writing. Writing is now embedded in the ELA assessment. So writing isn't separated out anymore. So actually to say we're going to, you know, they were actually flatlined at 25% in writing. So 75% of the students at Oak Park did not write at proficiency. So that's really a focus for their team, and they're really focused. But keep in mind that's embedded in the ELA. We'll measure reading and writing now. We won't have a separate writing assessment. But you're right, it's a heavy lift, and we have a lot of work ahead of us to flip that to 75% proficient and 25% non-proficient, and that would put us in an A level. And that's, I just want to reiterate that each of these schools, their goal is to receive an A grade. And we want to be an A district. And each of these schools know that whatever growth they have, they want to make it sustainable. It can't be kind of a yo-yo type thing. So part of the thing when you work on sustainable growth is you have these little pockets where you may go up significantly and then you go up steadily at times. But I have utmost confidence in these 4 leadership teams and their principals and their plans that they're going to turn this around.
And the other thing too that I heard in Ms. Longo's presentation was about the bigger strategies. And I think that's one of the things that we have seen great progress in teaching that to our students that are in Madison. What she's doing is they're going to be going and teaching strategies in every classroom. So not just the students that are in Avid, that Avid language, but they're going to do that universal. I think that's twofold. One, you're giving that structure and that's fair to all students in the school. The second thing is it does give that common language and that universal support system. So regardless of what classroom you're in, what teacher you're working with, there is that universal language, and that is embedded with writing. So I think that is a huge scaffolding and infrastructure, if you will, for students to increase their writing. Dr. Song.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and to the board and our superintendent. I am Shirley, a small media educational leader for the Humanities and Fine Arts Charter School. And it's quite an opportunity to be able to speak before you. I don't want to get good at this because I don't want to do this.
We agree with you on that.
Yeah, but I know all of you, and I'm looking forward to our moving forward. The data snapshot, if you take a look at that, if it changes, we have the FPAT data that determines our school grade. We're a small school. We had 134 students start with us and 113 ending with us. So our classes are small, but the third grade had 21 students, the fourth grade had 16, fifth grade had 8, so the fifth grade was not graded because we did not have a sample size of 10. 31% of our students scored levels 3, 4, and 5 in reading, 17% scored levels 3, 4, and 5 in math, and of course 0 scored levels 3.5 in the writing. Science was not graded due to there were less than 10 students. When we look at the percentages for improvement over the previous years, you'll see that there is some movement and some growth. 50% of our third and fourth graders improved in reading over the 2011-12 school year, and 51% of those third and fourth graders improved in math over the 2011-12 school year. 44% of our lower, 25% who had levels 1 and 2 in 2012-13 improved in the reading, and 75% of those students that were in the lower quartile who had levels 1 and 2 in 2012-13 improved in the math. Are we there yet? Certainly not. But there is, from the 2013-14 data, show an upward trend over our students' previous performances. Now, there are some relevant data that really concern us in the area of attendance and discipline and subgroups. With an enrollment of 113 children, we are 92% of our students are on free and reduced lunches. That's the highest in the district. That's the highest Title I school district numbers. 70% of our students are minorities. That's one of the highest in the district. 63% of our students, the mobility rate, I wish I knew where they were going. But I do know that they leave and they go to various parts of the state, out of state, they're homeless. But the 63% I found is commensurate with the 70% Leesburg mobility rate, which is incredibly high. 4 to 12% of our students were homeless this past year, 11% ESOL, I think it was 6% ESE, and then 9% retained. Astounding numbers are those that are in the area of tardies. When you look at 113 children, and you have 623 tardies, 687 absences, 109 referrals, and 20 students in RTI, and that number really should be growing in large numbers because we have such an influx of students coming in and out, in and out. It's nothing more disconcerting than to start with, 134 children, go down to 113, and you have kids moving all over the place. It's rare that we get children that we can keep 3 months or 4 months. That's really bravery for us, but they move and they move. I talked with the mayor of the city about that, and he said, well, Doc, this is really sort of what we see in the city. They move out of the apartments, and then they move to another side, and then they move to another. So by the time I get a cum folder sent to Leesburg or to Belfast Shores, they're not even there. They've moved on to the other schools. So that is an incredible problem and something we really need some serious help with our city and others to help us get past that. Our overall goals, though, when we look at 3 overarching strategies, we have the increase of students reading. We were somewhere in the 3rd grade had about 38%, but overall, if we looked at 3rd and 4th, it was 31%. So the target will be 42%. Math target will be 40%. That was where we just really flatlined. And then the writing target of 40%. Increased parent involvement. We know that one of the single most important indicators of student academic success is parent involvement, so we know we want to increase that. And then student attendance, and while we're looking at attendance, we also will be looking at those tardies and those suspensions and those kinds of things. Change the slide, please. The strategies that will be used to increase students' reading, math, and writing scores. We've hired 2 certified reading and literacy specialists, and I want to say a little bit about one of those. One of those certified reading specialists is a former principal in New York schools that had the wonderful task of superintendent above the superintendents identify her to have a turnaround school, and she was able to do that successfully with the staff, and she's retired and moved to the villages, and so she said, I don't want to ever be an administrator again, but I'd love to be a literacy coach. And she has hit the ground running and working with us as a turnaround school. And so we look forward to her contributions. And also, we've hired another reading specialist that will really have fifth grade, but comes to us with incredible writing skills and literacy skills. There will be an increase in the number of tutors and volunteers to assist with that lower 25%. What we found is when we received additional funds from Title I in the spring, January, I should say in the winter, we were able to take those funds and to hire qualified teachers or those persons who had been teachers in the district and had retired. And we got great traction from that. So now we're going to take the Title I dollars that we do have and place those at the beginning of the year. And so I've rolled out that by September 15th, we should be providing tutoring. And we will let that money go as far as it can. And then hopefully we will be able to allocate more dollars for that. So the number of tutors and volunteers at the beginning, and then initiating that tutoring by September the 15th. Then we would like to do the strength is that of the increase in intensive reading. We've been doing some of that, but we want to increase that even the more. And so we have the 90-minute plus the 60 minutes, but math is also 90 minutes. And while the writing is a part of that ELA, we will be writing across the curriculum. We'll use more research-based, data-driven instruction. And of course, my whole thing of establishing the village. I do think that's important, and I have challenged those who instituted the Education Summit that I want more than words. I need you to come to the table, and in 2 weeks I expect to have some kind of action plan follow through that we can be sure that we can depend on you to help us with more tutors and other kinds of things that we need. So we will be establishing those partnerships with community persons. You know that we have the interest focus groups where we have persons in our community that have retired or that are acting fine arts people that come and help us with interest focus groups. But also I'm going to leverage my commitment and my links with higher education. My undergrad alma mater, Bethune-Cookman, has interns, and I intend to pay them a visit because I am on their board. I also will leverage my time with UCF, the school that I spent the last 8 years of my first 30 years, talking with the dean about how can we use UCF students to come in, those who especially live in the Lake County area. They can get their service learning hours with us and sign off on those. So I want to do that as well as with Lake Sumter. So we want to leverage that. Increase of parent involvement. I want to use my family school liaison a little bit differently. I grew up in an era where we did home visits and Head Start. So we're going to go back to Head Start. You don't come to me, I'll come to you. Parent Resource Center distributions. We want to make sure that they have those in the home so they can help their children. And then increase the number of parent nights. Also, I want to add to that, many of you may not know about my research, but in the state system, you have to be tenured and promoted, and you have to become a contributor, and certainly something that will make the university look good as well as becoming that professor. My work was in Tangelo Park, and many of you know Tangelo with Mr. Harris Rosen. Harris Rosen was the person that really undergirded my research, and he was the one that was very, very powerful in having students who graduated from Dr. Phillips High School to C average or better go into a state school, and they could get a four-year degree or they could get a vocational degree or whatever. I had the research where I went in, and he said, Shalia, I have to have a way to know that I'm going to get a return on my investment. So I worked in Tangelo every night for years on Tuesday nights, helping parents understand the need to be involved in their children's education. Very often they say, well, I'm just going to turn it over to the school system. I mean, that's what you all do. I don't have to be there. But we were able to turn that community around, and we were able to get great traction, and student achievement did occur, and we did have great numbers. So I want to redo that research, that piece at our own school. Increase accountability measures for parents to fulfill 40 hours. We ask them to sign a contract that they will give us 40 hours of their time and volunteer. I don't always get that. And so we're really looking at how can we increase the measures of accountability, that they will be there. We are looking at what kinds of things can they do in the home that would certainly be towards that same time, or tasks that they can do over the weekend or whatever, but we need to increase that greatly. And then the increase in the student attendance, provide more positive incentives for students and families to increase their time. I need to say something about that. Many of the students are repeaters, repeat offenders they come late every day, I don't care what you do. And so we really want to look at that and see how can we decrease that. The last slide, strategies or strengths and considerations. I think the strong administration, and we do have an assistant principal this year, thank God. Faculty and staff, highly qualified, and continue to participate in the professional development offered by the district and the state. The infusion of the humanities and fine arts in the core academic subjects. And I think that's a real strength because we see that as a hook. Many times students may not want to be involved in the regular academics, but when they know that they're going to have every day 1 hour of humanities and fine arts, they've got to get to school. And when they're there, we're going to make sure that they get a lot of literacy within that. Also, the students' participation in interest focus groups, that's where they have their majors. And again, that is a hook. And then the tutoring. We will be doing more and more tutoring, not only before and after school, but that starting in September, I think is going to give us great mileage. The considerations, students' attendance, tardiness, and discipline referrals. We will be on like that, like white on rice. We're going to really work that and make sure. If I have to go to the cars and say a couple of things to the parents as they're dropping off the students, I am there in the car drop-off, but we're going to make sure that we have lots of us there to make those extra conversations. Early dismissals, there's just too much of our students getting out of school early. They've already some come late, and then to be dismissed early, so we have a policy in place for that. We will continue to look at the student test data, the RTI students, students in that process, and then of course again, parental involvement. So those are the kinds of things that we see as strengths, considerations, but certainly we will move this train forward. I do not look forward to speaking to you again, so I will entertain any questions you have this time.
Anybody have any questions?
Dr. Smalley, can you share with us how the young man is doing who went to New York to perform with the Lion King?
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to report we had a 4th grader that spent last summer auditioning in New York. He spent the spring auditioning in New York. And I got a call about 3 weeks ago. He has the lead part. He will be Simba on Broadway, and he will be traveling. So his mother called and said, we want him to come back to humanities, but he is going to be on the road. So we want to figure out how can you help us with his work. So I have assured her if he's there the first day of school, his travel starts at the end of August, but he will be in and out quite a bit this year. He'll be a 5th grader at humanities. So we serve a unique purpose, and we're really proud of that. And we hope that Broadway will look at more of our students in the arts. And that's great.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, board chair and board members and Dr. Moxley. This is very grueling coming up, just thinking. I said, how many times have I done this? I think too many, but at the end of the day, I'm excited about this school year because I have the additional resources and the help that I need. And that is very critical for the turnaround plan for this year. So I just want you guys to know that my board member, Ms. Anderson, the audience, and then I have my new AP, which will serve also as curriculum specialist. Cheryl Thomas is here with me.
I'm glad.
So I'm excited about the changes, and hopefully I know we will have a great year this year. So. All right, so the snapshot here, basically I just tried to keep it to a minimum because I know you guys have heard from me several times. But we serve about 210 students, and that range from ages 5 to 16, and I know that age 16 is very concerning for me because we have 16-year-olds in middle school in 8th grade, and that's very disturbing, in a sense that they are behind, and they're looking for ways to get out of middle school on a positive note. And I think with Ms. Thomas' background, with the ESE, she worked in the county before, she was a principal in Sanford. I think that will be a great addition to helping those students have someone to work with. Within that information, 3% of our school population has been identified as a specific learning disability, and 10% of our students have speech and language, and 1% is gifted. And then we have some students within that 1% as well that's autistic, and they serve in the other health impairment category. From our 2013-2014 data, our reading went from 38 to 45% school-wide. That's huge for us. Our learning gains went from 54% to 72%. So we're working on those students that are in our low quartile very well. The issue that we're facing this year is helping those students with the level 3s and 4s maintain, because we did see a drop with those students. So what our plan is for that this year is to actually implement clubs for our students. I took a poll with our students and they told me, I need something to look forward to. We don't have those extracurricular activities, so that is a huge piece for them this year. And then with partnering with the Boys and Girls Club, that will just solidify what we're doing in our extracurricular activities as well. Our math went from 29 to 33%. Not pleased with that at all, because once you start breaking the information down, we saw that most of our students still declined in math. So what we did this year, Ms. Thomas and I and our middle school lead, was we threw away probably 15 to 20 schedules. And we're like, what are we going to do that is different than what we did last year? So the plan is to actually implement an intensive math block for all of our students, kindergarten all the way up. We have after-school tutoring with the Boys and Girls Club, in addition to the Stride Academy piece that the Boys and Girls Club is offering us at no charge. It's basically the reading and math and science, and those are the areas that we did see a decrease in. Writing, we went up in writing, but still writing is an area where I am concerned as well, because our students are not writing well. And before the end of the year, I had them all in the gym in assembly, and I said, you guys, let's go. I gave them a writing prompt, and I had them sitting there, and I had them to turn in an assignment to me. And I just started off with a basic letter of, why are you here? Why are you coming to school? Do you appreciate the school? And the outpour that I got from the students was basically, I'm struggling with writing. I don't have the basic foundation. Yes, you were here for the past two years, but before that, I had teachers that really didn't teach writing. So what I find in our school is very unique in a sense that our students lack the foundation skills. And so therefore, I'm picking up the pieces to get them moving forward. So that's what we see in our data from that part. The next slide, please. Basically, like I said, our simple goals, 50% of students satisfactory in reading, because we're there at 45. We had an increase, like I said, from 38 to 45. So the goal is to at least have everyone 50%. Of course, we're going to shoot higher than that, but of course, you need to give them something to work towards, because the 45 to 50, to them, I'm being realistic, is, that's more achievable, that they can see the 50, and beyond that point, of course, we're looking to achieve higher than 50. Our math score, 40%, we're looking to increase, because like I said, we did see an increase in it, but not a huge gain. But like I said, from our schedule changing to an intensive math block to after-school tutoring to the Boys and Girls Club with Stride Academy, implementing the math, hopefully we will see a number of great things coming from the math section of that. And then our science. What I've decided this year is we saw a decrease in our science, especially in 5th grade. So my 5th grade teacher will be teaching a middle school reading block, and because her strength is reading, and the science will go to the science teacher in middle school, because there is an increase there, and I see more achievement with her. It's not saying that the teachers are doing a great job, but I had to tweak my teachers to where their strengths are, and that's something that is very different for this school year. The next slide. The action plan, again, this is just very basic. Utilize the Stride Academy and Accelerated Math. That is actually no cost, again, to us from Boys and Girls Club, which I'm very appreciative of that. And that will be monitored by myself, my math teacher, Boys and Girls Club education coordinator. We do have a coordinator that's on site. She comes in throughout the day, ranging from 12 o'clock until 6 o'clock. And usually I'm there past 6 o'clock. So we have a lot of time to collaborate to discuss our strategic plans. The next one is to celebrate and encourage our students in independent reading, because like I said, we can hammer this information in, but if we don't have those extra motivational pieces and the positive reinforcement, that is a struggle for our students. So the plan is there, again, is with the club to add the accelerated reading piece to that, and again, Stride Academy with our Boys and Girls Club. And then the last one is increase the amount of time given for informational text, because we saw an issue with that with our teachers, having the right resources and textbooks in place. And I've been going in, researching, pulling more information, giving the teachers more resources in the classroom that is research-based. So from that point, that's kind of our area where I'm going with that. And the school-wide science initiative through the use of clubs and competitions. Basically, our students last year was actually entered into a competition at the Olympic Science. So they went to Cocoa Beach, and out of 29 schools, they ranked number 10. So that's huge, considering that, for our first time in, we didn't do as bad. So this year, we're looking to implement that as well. And then with the addition of the science nights with Mad Science, the astronomy night. So we're having a lot of nights with the parents and the students to increase the science piece of that. Okay, next slide. Strengths and considerations. I feel like I have more strengths this year than anything. Again, the JJCK consultant is an academic consultant that's coming in. He has already been at the school 3 times. We spend countless hours discussing our plan for the year. The days that he will not be physically on campus, I will be in the classroom with the camera and Skyping him in to the sessions of the teachers, so that way he can provide feedback. It will be recorded, and most of the teachers are aware of that already. And it's just, it will give us another set of eyes when he's not there. Because like I said, we have the contract that I sent over to you guys before. I don't know if you have it yet, but he's there to do the academic consulting pieces, which includes curriculum and instruction, to coaching the teachers, to coaching me as well, because he worked for the Florida Department of Education for 9 years. So he has a lot of great experience with what he's seeing at that level to bring to our school. And again, our assistant principal, Cheryl Thomas, she's the added piece, and the reading and math paraprofessional, which that was a position that we did not have. Another strength, our lowest 25% of students in reading increased from 54 to 72%, and reading learning gains increased from 60 to 64%. Also another strength in there that I did not add, we're working with UCF to do a study program on our students of interventions. So for our middle school students, they will be getting interventions with our speech and language therapist that's there on site. So her time now goes from 2 days a week, being there 4 hours, to 4 days a week actually being on campus. So that is another additional piece that I did not have. So all of these resources are strengths for me, because out of the kindness of their heart, they're doing it for free. And another strength, we actually just received a grant from Disney to where we're able to purchase 20 more tablets for our students. So there are a lot of positives that I would say that's going into the school year, so I'm really excited about it. But nonetheless, I know we have a lot of work to do. We missed that C, found a small margin, but that's okay. We're working higher than a C. Like Dr. Christensen said, we're all aiming for that A, and we know we have a lot of work to do. And that's why that science and the math piece is very critical for us. And like Katie always says to me, she says, working smarter and not harder at the wrong things. And that's what I try to take away from them, is pulling the data apart and really looking at what we need to do to turn these students around. So that's all I have to say.
Sharon, I am excited for you that you got the help, because that was the concern we all had, is that you were trying to do it all yourself. You can't do it all yourself. So thank you for your board seeing that they needed to do that in order to help the kids. And I want to welcome Ms. Thomas. She's an excellent educator, so you're going to be great with her there. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Spring Creek, Cody's here. His team.
Good afternoon, Dr. Moxley and board members. I'm beginning my 37th year, and I think I've learned more today from the other presentations about school improvement than I've ever learned at a workshop, or dare I say, a principal's meeting. So it's really been interesting listening to everybody. Spring Creek is in a very unusual position with our data, and if we could go to that, I'll walk through that just a little bit. Just a couple of years ago, in 2012, and also for many years prior to that, probably 11 years prior to that, Spring Creek never got a grade, a school grade, below a B. In fact, most of those were A's, many of you know that. Even in 2012, as you can see from the chart, I'm looking at really the last row of this chart, our school grade was a B. We earned 519 points toward that, to score that B. Just 6 more points at 525 would have been even an A. So in 2013, we dropped 142 points, probably more than any school in history, okay? And our earned grade was an F. Officially, we were granted a C. But really, we probably should have been here last year, because officially that's what it was, okay? And we went down in almost every category. This past year, 2014, and if you look at the row that has all the green squares in it, you'll see that we went up in our point total 104 points. I think maybe that's the second highest in the district. So we did a lot this past year because we realized that something bad had happened. We weren't really sure what. We have a lot of theories. And there were some things contributing to that. But we worked really hard in 2014 to raise our point total. But even though we raised our point total 104 points, our grade went from a C, an official C, to a D. So we got better, but we got worse. Okay? And of course, that's why we're here. Although the C, we were only 8 points away from that magic C even this year. So we feel good about the improvements we've made, but we also realize we're kind of down where we don't want to be, which I think is common among all of us that have spoken today. However, looking across that 2014 row, you see all those green sections. Those are areas where we improved. And that's almost every area. There are 2 areas where we did not improve, and of course those would be our focus moving forward. They are science and writing. I have a few notes about some other relevant data. The year we went down so bad, we had attendance issues, not sure why, but our attendance, our average daily attendance was also, I think, the bottom in the district at like 89%. It was really, really poor. And of course, if we can't get the kids to school, they're not going to learn. Okay? We did have some significant staff issues that, a couple real tragedies on our staff, and a couple other issues that I don't really want to go into. And then we also, it happened to also be the year that we were expanding to become a KA school. I know personally, my focus was on that a lot, so maybe my eye was off the ball in some respects. But that gives you a picture of our data. Our goals moving forward are to get our grade back up, quite simply. More specifically, we want to work on the area of science, getting our on grade level in grades 5 and 8 up to at least 55%. And in writing, we're not sure how the writing is going to be scored like Dr. Christensen said. It's going to be kind of woven in. But still, if you look at how low our writing scores were, even the last 2 years, you know Spring Creek kids aren't writing very well right now. So they've got to write better, whether it's a separate assessment or something rolled into the English language arts. And then our third goal is to maintain steady growth in those other areas. We don't want to, oftentimes you concentrate on something and you go down in something else, and we don't want to make that, we don't want that to happen, so we want to specifically state it as a goal. The way we made the improvements just this past year in all the reading and math areas were what we also, to borrow from Rhonda Hunt, although I'll say she borrowed from me, we use the term aggressive accountability. And I did implement something last year with all the teachers and all the grade levels where they reported to me monthly throughout the year, and we really looked at what they were doing and held them accountable for what they were doing with the kids. And that aggressive accountability process, however, was not done in writing. It was not done in science. Guess what? Those are the two areas we didn't improve. So we're going to implement that for those this year. We've done some other things like formed a science curriculum committee, because what we've also found out, if you look at writing and science also, they're also the two that are only tested once in elementary, once in middle school. You tend to, if you don't monitor those closely, you tend to let them slip by the wayside in the other grades, and that catches up to you, and we feel like that may have been part of what hurt us there as well. We're going to put in a new progress monitoring piece for science. That's yet to be determined. And also something for writing as well. The Developmental Studies Center curriculum that we use for reading has a strong writing piece, but we're also looking for something extra for that. We were just notified Friday that we have additional Title I money. The requirements for using it are somewhat narrow, but one of the things it can be used for are programs to increase in areas where you have a need. So we'll be identifying and using that for that in writing. So that's where we are in our action plan. We do have a lot of strengths. We are a great community and a great family, our staff and faculty out of Spring Creek. We've done really well just in this past year with accelerating our lower quartile, especially in math. You can see there's a huge jump, and we have worked really hard on that. All our lower quartile students, and partly because of our really good RTI program, are moving forward, and we want to accelerate them. Certainly the acceleration resource teacher will help us do that. Our DSC reading and writing program is strong, and we have something out at Spring Creek that I'm not sure anybody else is really doing it fully. The Responsive Classroom West, nobody's doing this. This is a social literacy program that we use at our school, Responsive Classroom, that I'm not going to go into, but it's really key in making responsible young students, and we're in our second year of that, and that's been just an awesome strength of ours. The Title I support that we'll be getting with the money that I just mentioned will help us also. I didn't put that on the slide. We're going to closely monitor some other things. Our attendance, we did improve this past year in our attendance from that 2013, but we still have, and that seems to be a common thread here today, we have a lot of kids who miss a lot of days, and it's tough, you know. We also are going to be doing some special things because one of our barriers is our parent community literacy. When you're a high poverty school, like many of us are, that becomes a very key factor with students not having models at home, good literacy models at home. So that's where we are.
Mr. Curry, I guess I have a question.
Chief.
As you said, there is a trend in attendance in all of these areas, all the schools. Is that the lack of parent participation or responsibility, or kids just don't want to come, or do you have a theory on
I do have
all of it?
I have a theory on almost
Okay.
everything. It's about the importance of coming to school. We have a lot of students who can say to their parents, well, I just don't want to come to school today, or come pick me up early today, or parents who just decide it's convenient to come pick their kids up an hour early every day. That's been a real problem for us, and I think some of the other schools that I've heard today have alluded to that as well.
And you have been around for 37 years, so is it a trend that we're going that direction now? Because in the past, I mean, I have 4 kids that went through the system here, and they were on time to school, trust me, and I didn't take them out for doctor's appointments, those type of things. So is it just a social trend that's going that direction, that parents just don't push their kids to go to school?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I
Or
think
so
I think
in
it has
your
gotten, I
37
think it
years,
is, to me, I think think it's gotten worse over the years.
Okay,
I've been at Spring Creek now 13,
right.
so, and I believe at least there in that one community, it has gotten a little bit worse.
Well, see, that's always, and when we all ran the last time, that was a concern, getting parent involvement. We can't dictate to parents that they be involved. Can we dictate that they have their kids there on time, Mr. Johnson? We need a law, don't we, that they have to have their kids there. Okay, we're gonna do that. When Mr. Mathias gets to Tallahassee, he's gonna do that. That'll eliminate half the problem. Very good presentation. Anybody have questions?
We do work quite a bit on it, and what you're seeing is the trend of every day. We do take extreme cases through the court system, but they are extreme cases, and this, I mean, we're talking about it every day here, and it is problematic. It is very
Yeah, and we're holding the teachers responsible for having to taught those kids. They're not there.
not there to it.
So, I mean, that's just a... Yes, sir. Yeah, you would.
This question, I don't know who it is directed, Dr. Christensen, Dr. Moxley. This presentation has been very informative. Is the expectation that we're going to get these quarterly?
Yes, actually, we have a timeline that is part of academic services, and we'll be bringing back a report after we have the first checkpoint, which I believe is in October. It's the first checkpoint, so it'll be right after that. We'll bring you the updated data. So this is the first data point.
Could we maybe give an incentive that if they get their numbers up, they don't have to come?
Yes. I like that. You don't have to come back to see us and get your points up.
There'll be another one out late February, first part of March.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thanks, Bill. That was good. Okay. Does anyone else need a 5-minute break? You do? And I'll just turn it over to you. Go ahead.
As we look at the progress of our schools, elementary schools had a significant drop, and that was at the elementary level, whereas at the middle and the high schools, we did not see that significant drop. So at this point, the executive director for academic services, that position is vacant, and this agenda item is recommending that that position be frozen for the remainder of the school year. And by freezing this position, those resources can then be repurposed to provide more focused oversight specifically in the area of pre-K through 5, which is elementary curriculum and instruction. It will still allow us to provide oversight. And what we have done is we have taken the folks that are the evaluators of principals, and we've looked at that region concept, which we talked with you about. And Dr. Doyle and Dr. Christensen, they are going to be focusing on our middle and high schools as far as that oversight. Mrs. Marshall is focusing on the elementary schools, and because we have 27.8 of them, the director of curriculum would also be able to provide some of that oversight for elementary, as well as that expertise in curriculum and instruction. So on the sheet that you have, you will see 2 highlighted in bolder yellow. That tonight we're looking, and you'll see the decrease of the executive director of academic services to freeze that, because I have actually combined the 2 executive levels with the chief, and then you will see the addition of the director of curriculum and instruction. That will be raising that up to a total of 2 positions, one that would be pre-K 5, and the existing one would focus on the middle and high schools.
Okay. Any questions?
It also does provide a savings of $5,000.
Okay. All right. Next item.
So the next item is Mr. Johnson.
always said that you would either have insurance or not insurance. In other words, if it was a sport or something like that, it was absolutely, you would have to have insurance. If it were low risk or used in the offices, the classroom, then there would be no requirement.
We're going to show you that right now.
Okay.
What I did philosophically was what I listened to the tapes, what I heard was that we wanted it to go not from you got to have insurance and then we'll tell you a reason why you don't, or come back to us with a reason why you don't. It was, we're not going to require insurance for everybody, but here, when we have these situations, we're going to have.
That's correct.
That's kind of the
That's on page 4.
philosophically removing it from the initial requirement for the agreement and now putting it number 4, which is on page 4. And what page 4, I mean, that's the key to when we do and don't have it. And that's the use of facilities will be permitted without providing any proof of insurance for low liability use. Risk Management Department will make the determination in its discretion whether an organization or person is requesting low liability use of the facility. If the Risk Management Department determines the requested use is not low liability in nature, then the organization, then you have the $1 million required liability insurance just like we had before. So what we're doing now is saying, all right, you come, you fill out a facility, at some point in time in the process, for the facility's use form, it'll go to Risk Management, they'll determine whether it's low liability or not. If it's not, then you'll require to have insurance. And the last sentence is, all uses of a facility for athletic events or practice shall not be considered low liability. So all athletic events essentially are going to require insurance to have. And then the next section, which was the old 4, was the hardship exemption for insurance. So you were required to have it, and if you didn't want to have it, you had to fill out a hardship exemption. So I've eliminated the hardship. There is no more hardship exemption. You either are a low liability and you don't have to have it, or you're not a low liability and you do have to have it.
And so Lauren will have a list of those that fall within those areas.
Or she'll make a determination if an application is submitted whether it's low liability or not.
Which is what this does.
And then I think there was one other, it was merely more of editorial on page 7 of 13. That particular section, B1, was the old version of what's 11. It was the Boy Scouts of America provision that's in federal law that you've got to give them the best deal that you give anybody else in any Boy Scout type of organization. And as we were reading through it, that section that I crossed off is what used to be there before we had the Boy Scouts. They were redundant to have those.
And we made that into a number 11 when we added the Boy Scouts.
Now I know Mr. Ritter has a couple of requests.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. My concern as your risk manager is changing the policy to not require insurance as a standard practice. The list that I've given you is just a spreadsheet of all of the outside facilities that used our schools and departments, whatever, throughout the 2012-2013 school year. And of these, and I believe there was about 170 of them, I only received 2 requests to waive the insurance requirement. And that was for the Miss Umatilla pageant and the Miss Leesburg pageant. And for both of those, I brought those to the board and you agreed to waive the requirement for the insurance. All of the other entities, no one expressed any concern to me about the insurance being a burden. And I would say probably more than 95% of these entities already have insurance. So all we're asking them to do is to provide us with a certificate of insurance, naming Lake County Schools as an additional insured, so that if something does arise and a claim is filed because of an event, an accident, or an allegation of sexual misconduct, or anything like that, their insurance policy would extend to us and provide a defense, cover all of the legal fees, and also indemnify us. So I'm just concerned by waiving that requirement for even low-risk uses. From October 1st, 2013, that's the date that we transitioned to self-insurance. From that date to today, we have already had 73 slip, trip, and fall claims filed against us. And that,
Almost 74.
no, this is the majority of workers' compensation claims. But that's just low risk. And with our being self-insured, we have had maybe 5 or 6 outside claims filed against us for slip, trip, and falls, parents, visitors, whatnot. But for the facility use, we've got large church groups using our facilities on Sundays. We have a lot of people coming in and out of our buildings, and I just don't. I recommend that we not change our policy on that. What I would like to see us do is default to requiring insurance, but instead of having to take a waiver to the board, give the risk manager that discretion to waive insurance if it's a financial burden and if it's a low-risk activity.
I am very glad that you're standing there and sharing that with us, because when I was reading this over the weekend, it gave me great pause. Because I'm thinking, if we're going to have people come in, and there might be 100 in a group, and, things happen, then we're going to be held responsible. And I was just wondering, then what does that do to our insurance? And does our premiums go up? And so, I'm glad that you're here presenting this information to us. And I personally can support what Mr. Ritter, is asking of us.
Lauren sat in, or I sat in with her meetings, one with Mount Dora Rec, and then the one I'm working on, the city of Tiberias. And they all have insurance because they're municipalities, and they have to have those policies. But the one gentleman from Mount Dora actually came from Virginia Beach?
Correct.
Okay. And had no problem, and, evidently what he had done at that one was the same type of recreation he's doing here, and they had to provide the insurance. So he didn't seem to have a problem with it, a private organization having the insurance policies. So, that's another way to look at it. If you look at all of these, everyone on here had their insurance, except the 2 you said.
That's right.
And
they
their
come to
churches
us
and
each
everything
year,
else.
and we have waived that. So that has not been, an issue.
So I guess, Bill,
Yeah, here's, if you look at the list right now, these are sporting type events that would be required to have insurance under the policy, for the most part. And what we are missing is this is the opportunity of people that have stepped up and put this $1 million policy in place. And obviously the discussion was derived from the fact that people are saying they can't use the facility because they don't have that capacity.
and I think that's more of a misperception, which is what Sean Parks found out when he met with us and looked at this list. You may have 1 or 2 organizations out there that they've had an issue with us because they didn't follow the rules or the protocol, but I don't think we've ever turned, not that I know of, somebody down.
But what I'm saying is, if you look through here, this list,
Yeah.
other than the barbershop chorus, or
The family music,
they would have had to have insurance
Spanish club.
anyway. I think the Spanish club is low risk. I wouldn't require that. But are we going to broaden the use of the facilities by eliminating that requirement? I think the answer is yes.
One of the other things that we have recently done, that we just implemented within the last 60 days, is we purchased or set up what we call a TULIP policy, which is a tenant user liability insurance policy. I have a link on our website so that members of the public can now go on, complete the application online. If they don't have insurance, all of our schools are listed in there in a drop-down list. They select what their activity is, the dates, and then they can just provide a credit card and purchase a very inexpensive event policy online to make it easier for people so they don't have to go to their own agent or broker to purchase.
And when you say inexpensive, what are you talking in dollars?
I'm talking about if it, let's say it is, as an example, a festival on a Saturday, and they're the gym and the cafeteria, that might be $150.
Well, then why don't we, with that said, why don't we just require that then?
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm saying, I'm trying to get away from the whole exception thing.
Yeah.
And if you can go on through the credit card rental for a day, because one of the big issues was you had to have
Accessibility.
policies. That's right. So I'm fine with acquiescing to your concerns if we have a vehicle that still makes it friendly.
And this just happened, I mean, we talked about that in the meeting.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Specifically though, if somebody like Kiwanis is coming in and it's our students, how are they going to have to purchase insurance?
One thing, I knew that I was missing one section that was supposed to be in here, which is the reason that I brought it back in the first place. And if you look at section on page 6 on the policy that I gave you, subsection 8 are the exemptions, and they are essentially those functions that are exempt from all provisions of the facilities use policy except bringing drugs or alcohol or committing crimes on our property. And that is to cover SACs, PTOs, and that kind of thing. If you look at the next page, the last one, 7, groups that are comprised primarily of Lake County students who are meeting as part of a non-approved, non-sanctioned club or organization. But this one is, if you have the sanctioned, approved clubs, and they have rights to meet on campus, this is to cover a group of kids who have not put in for a club or organization or anything else that not only would be compelled to allow them to use the facilities anyway because we're compelling anybody, we're just saying if it's primarily our kids, they don't have to pay for anything, they don't have to pay for the lights, the janitor, or insurance.
But they go on, okay, and they just fill out their facility use
Yeah,
permit,
so
just
the
like they
facility
normally do.
use agreement, which essentially says they get to use it.
So Boy Scouts would be covered under that provision as well.
Yeah.
But the reality of it, excuse me, is like the Boy Scouts and Kiwanis, those organizations, they purchase a blanket insurance policy nationally. You know, most all of those organizations already have insurance because other school districts and churches or wherever they meet require that. So for those organizations, it's never been an issue. It's automatically renewed and they automatically send us a certificate every year when their policy renews.
Yes, sir?
I'm willing to go back to the requirement that everyone has $1 million as long as it is cut and dry that way. I mean, I'm talking about everybody.
Are we going to have a hardship exemption section so when the beauty pageants come in, they...
But it's so cheap is what I'm being told.
It is inexpensive and it is easy to purchase, but for Miss Leesburg pageant, that $150 that they may have to spend to purchase that insurance is $150 that they're not going to be able to contribute to a scholarship for one of our students. And that was the reasoning behind why they wanted that hardship exemption.
Well, it seems like that if there's going to be an opportunity to fall, it would be something like that kind of pageant. But wouldn't that be a group? Would that be a non-sanctioned group with other people?
There are students.
They're students.
Well, they're students
They're not
in the
meeting as part of
community.
a non-approved club.
Miss Leesburg is not approved, right?
You go down that road and we might as well not have any distinction.
That has always been a community event serving students or that age resident. Many times the students may be enrolled in our schools, other times they are not enrolled in our schools.
I don't understand how we are speaking about, with you coming before us about the risk, that how we then can say that that event wouldn't create the same risk. I'm not understanding.
It would create the same risk. I do agree with you on that. It's just that the philosophy of the board in prior years was that I guess cost benefit. It was for our students and the policy allowed for a hardship exemption if the cost of the insurance would be prohibitive.
But
That's
it
not
was-
prohibitive.
But it was prohibitive based on the way people had to use, from what I understood from people that spoke to me, is they would go out and have to do this $1 million policy, but it was, you couldn't get it for a night, if I had to leave the time.
we have to agree.
Okay, I said we don't have any exception.
As long as that policy's in effect, I can agree to that, but
And we have the TULIP.
because I had the same complaints, was that it was very difficult for them to go out and find a carrier for the insurance.
Well, we can put in that we will maintain the policy, what requires to maintain that.
We're paying for it right now?
You know, there's no cost to it, there was just a lot of setup time for it, because we had to load our location structure and all of our buildings.
It's all done.
It's all done, it is set up, I've tested it, it works just great.
Then bingo, that's easy.
And we'll put it in there.
Well, I'll come back with.
That way you can fix
Put it
both.
in there.
Tom's got a comment?
The only other thing that I may want to bring in, I don't know if we need to put it into policy, was, and I did speak to you about, the unique way is when we take on a deposit for some of those student clubs, that deposit be returned to them at the end of the year if there is no additional need from janitorial or whatnot.
This had, and Mr. Ritter may want to speak to this because she and I had a conversation about a week ago. This is about the incentives of, at the school, each individual school when they're collecting the facilities use monies. Is that,
That's in addition, but I'm saying that because some of these are going to be, there is no cost to some of these student organizations. I'm assuming they're putting down a deposit?
No, I would
Not
say,
for them at all?
no, I'm not aware of any student clubs or organizations that are required to put a deposit. The only time a deposit is typically required, and that's at the discretion of the school administrator. It's generally for, you know, a big Golden Oldies concert at the Leesburg Auditorium, or some large outside event. Or perhaps,
The principal may require.
the principal may require, and generally they hold the deposit, they don't cash the check, and they just give it back to them after the event. And sometimes for sporting events.
I'm talking about, depending on which ones had to have deposits. If we're not doing the deposit, then that's fine. I would prefer to have deposit on just about everything, but,
There's 2 pages of deposits.
yeah, that's,
Those are specifically curriculum and non-curriculum approved clubs. I don't believe we've ever had deposits. Now, we're adding another group, the student group that are not approved. None of those were being charged. All of the deposits, charges, everything else, just like for SAC and PTO, are excluded from those groups. This section, this number 8 exception, all of those groups operate without any deposits.
and that may be where this is going to fit, that for those groups who are outside of all entities, you know, if they're curricular or non-curricular, then I get it, there's nothing. But if it's an outside, completely outside group who's using it, maybe we do need to collect that deposit, and if everything's done, then they get the entire deposit back, but there'd still be no charge for the facility. But
Well,
We
even
don't
if
have
you get
it
a
in
deposit
that, do we?
from a PTO or an SAC.
I'm not talking about them because they're,
Well, then we have.
I'm talking about the ones that are not actually tied to the school, but maybe made up of our students.
Okay, less than last group that we just added. That's the only one that fits in there.
Right.
You wanna
So
have them?
I don't know if you want to or
Have
not.
them have a requirement of a deposit.
Well, the problem is that if they do come in and they do cause additional work for that staff, there is no recourse for that. I mean, if you have a bad actor come in, then it is going to cost
We
the
just don't
district.
approve them anymore.
Right, but you
That's-
just, I mean, the only recourse would be to say that at the end of the meeting to the school.
Lauren, explain, on the City of Tamara's one, we put the $250 in there, and the reason behind that was?
That was to allow us a buffer if we had an incident where, let's say, the city wanted to use our school every Saturday and Sunday for some youth program. Because their fees would be waived by the policy or by the interlocal agreement, it might be burdensome to the school if they have to pay a custodian or an not an administrator, but say a custodian to go to the school every Saturday and Sunday and work overtime to allow access, open the gates, open the school for them, lock up after they leave, clean up. That we've also got, all of the supplies, the soap, paper towels, all those paper products. So that we put a cap on it that left us the discretion to charge them if our expenses were more than $250.
And it went both ways. The city could charge us if we didn't do what we were
And
supposed
that's
to.
essentially what I'm talking
That's
about.
what I thought it
If
was.
somebody comes in and they're just piggy, and we spend a tremendous amount of money cleaning it up, then they don't deserve to get that
The
deposit
Lord
back.
came up with that, that's why we're revising that code.
But if they're coming in and they leave it cleaner than when they came,
Then you
when they
give
showed
them their money
up,
back.
then here's your money back at the end of the year, it costs them nothing. And it's an incentive for them to be good stewards of our facilities. And I think that, you can have a disincentive as much as you can have a positive incentive, so.
You want to put that in the policy?
Well, I don't know if everybody does or not, I think
I don't
it's
know.
reasonable.
I mean, it makes sense.
Well,
When
I
she
think
said
we
it, it
have
made
to-
sense.
And we have an example of something that occurred, recently, that this would come into play. The basketball group at Claremont Middle School.
Oops.
How they left the gym.
But as a practical matter,
No,
if you have a food group, and the place is let somebody get a deposit, and you don't ever see money.
Correct.
Right.
And that's the only way that you have it,
That's
of
what
course.
we
And
said.
it's an incentive to say, if you want this money back, you can have it, but you need
Keep
to,
the place clean.
you need to be responsible.
I agree with that.
Bill? You
I
okay
don't
with
know,
that?
I'm only confused what we're adding because we have a list of deposits on the back. So where are we adding that?
We're talking about for some of these smaller groups who are going to be coming in using classrooms, those kind of things.
The groups in 8, Bill, starts on page 6. There's 7, now there are 7 groups, 1 through 7, that have no financial requirement whatsoever. They're just required not to commit crimes pretty much during their meetings. Some of the last one, well, next to last is a governing board or council of a nonprofit organization. And the last one is groups of students who are not clubs. I think what Todd is saying that those, although they may not be required to pay anything on a regular basis, they may be required to put up an annual deposit that's kept by the school, and if everything is returned, if the room is left clean when they leave, and there's no need for additional janitorial services, then they get the deposit back. So it's not really costing them anything other than they'll have to come up with some money to put up for the deposit.
It's to take care of our property.
We can do it in a fairly small amount to be able to, we're only looking at once a month, we're gonna know after 1 month. If it took $100 to go clean it up, then they lose their right to use it.
And I just gave you the number 250 because that's what we did with the city. But a smaller organization, it could be
Well, we're
$100.
talking about a single classroom.
Right.
So you're going to have the SAC committee put up a deposit.
No.
You said.
Those are the groups that don't have any. You can pick any one of those or all of those.
And I don't have an issue with any of those putting it up. I mean, $100 for the year and then they get it back. Why not? Make sure they do.
No,
I mean, I don't care whether we do or not.
I don't like that part.
I don't care whether we do or not, but
Yeah, because the SAC committee, they're not fundraising. No. They're not exchanging any money. So you'd have parents paying more.
So, they really don't have a financial basis to do that. But now the other groups
All
on
right.
the list may.
That gives rid of the SAC committee, PTO, booster club.
You're not going to
Yes.
charge them.
for a deposit,
Why?
to make sure it's.
I never left the building messed up.
You may be more responsible than others who.
Okay.
I mean, again, we're spinning ourselves out of where the intent, which was to make it
More accessible.
and more accessible. And we have a set of deposits in the high-risk area, the cafeteria, gymnasium, and auditorium. Already said.
I'm talking about, these are small deposits to ensure cleanliness
All
set
the
that
small
kind of things.
deposits, a small deposit, I can't imagine you bringing someone in plus $200 if you had to bring something up. So,
Okay, your scheduled fees here are for cleaning up, are they not? And for use? Isn't that all included?
Electricity and cleanup is pretty much what I believe when the initial fee schedule was created, it was made not to make money, but it was just not to cost the school board money by having other people use it other than wear and tear. Wear and tear, you're not recovering. What you're recovering is the anticipated cost of electricity and cleanup.
And that's in these costs right here.
which are in these fees, user
I
fees.
see what he's
Yeah, but
saying.
We're not
charging any of these organizations.
These are just for community.
But you're not going to charge a PTO or a staff. I mean, I just don't see that happening.
That's what I'm saying, we're not charging them, we're taking a deposit, they're gonna get their full deposit back as long as they leave the facility in the same.
Okay, so I'm on the SAC committee now, and I put up $200. Okay, I'm gone. So then somebody else has to run and put up $200.
He was saying pull the sack. I'm okay with pulling the sack. I'm talking about, my primary ones are students who are coming in, who may not have somebody who oversees it.
Which one?
That was 6 and 7. Or 7.
Actually, 4 are actually student clubs, the approved student clubs.
Which, that's okay anyway.
That's okay not to have it on that.
Right.
Okay. 5 is the Education Foundation.
Oh, I charge them.
6 is governing boards of nonprofit organizations.
Which is like the Kiwanis, District 9 meets in our building.
And 7 are groups of students who are meeting together but not as an approved club.
Is that the one you're having?
I think several of these, and I guess I'm a little more willing to say it. I mean, if everybody wants it, then that's fine.
We don't want it.
I don't want it, it's fine. That ends that.
Okay, thank you. How about Roseanne? You want it?
I understand where Todd is coming from, and I guess the question is, where
would you put it?
Where would you put that? Because I go back to the basketball group using Claremont Middle, and I think that is a example of where this.
But they would have been required to have that as part of the policy.
Yes, they were also paying for custodial services and rental fees.
Okay.
So everything got covered on that.
Correct.
Except for use of the floor.
No, because they never paid their last amount.
Oh, that's right, that's right. I forgot.
We ended up on the wrong side of that.
Only because they didn't pay.
Well, and I think it's ensuring that they are using the facilities when they are scheduled to use the facilities and not going in on their unscheduled days and times.
Right, there were a number of issues with that.
And
Yeah,
if you're going to
because-
have people countywide use your facilities, that's not going to be the last sentence.
No,
No.
no. And I don't, the interlocal I'm working on with Terry's and Eldora, we use their ball fields. We are asked to clean them up as part of the agreement, but they didn't ask us to give them money as a deposit for using those ball fields. So I
But
don't
have we
do
ever
that.
left them in
They're pretty
disarray?
sure you-
Yes, we have. Oh, yes. I've been down to the school, and the principal's gotten on to the coach and the players. Yes.
But they took care of it.
Yes. But it happens quite often. But I wouldn't, that's what I'm saying, the city hasn't asked us for a deposit. I would not want to ask them for a deposit.
We're pretty sure they've got the money to pay for it.
As we loosen this
We're
up,
making
it
this
may be
worse.
something that we need to come back to. Like I said, I can go either way with it, but as we loosen this up and we invite more of these folks in, you never know what you're inviting in. That was my only point.
We were
Having
anxious
that
of
stuff.
giving up any insurance requirement. And so I think that, you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to get people to use the facilities.
I agree.
And I think this shows you that they do and it's working. And I think the two-look with the insurance is an added benefit for them that they'll all use. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And if we have problems, Lauren and Steve can bring it back to us.
I guess it's coming back to us.
Come back to one more workshop.
Well, at
Yes,
least
you gotta
one
change
more
the
time.
$1 million. Okay.
I think we'll check it at the school board. So,
Dr. Moxley. Oh, it's still you. Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Renner.
Second policy is 4.5.1. Okay, I think I've given you all a red line version. This is the high school student club organization. And then one or two additional changes that came up over the weekend, and that's all we need to make. Paragraph 2 is the first change. There has been an issue about whether you have a club approved once and that's it, you don't have to go back. And this changes it to make it absolutely clear that each school year there has to be approval of the club. Then it has the superintendent will make the determination whether a club is curricular or non-curricular. Then you go to page 2, under all clubs, number 10, all monies accruing to a club organization shall be accounted.
So I would have been thrown out of school?
No, it's saying
No,
that these
saying
are
you're
not.
These are items listed right. Students were drawing pictures, and they were given discipline consequences. So now with the new legislation, we won't be looking at
Okay,
those
I didn't
items.
read that, I'm sorry.
Yes.
They're really going back, because of zero tolerance, there were some extreme cases that, were resulting in expulsion. And so now they're being very
Creating a
And again-
retirement fund. That's what I
1
thought.
through 7 is included.
no.
Simulating a firearm or weapon while playing includes, but is not limited to, 1
I
through
thought
7.
this says is not grounds for disciplinary action or referral.
It is simulating, is not, well, this is telling you what simulating a firearm or
While
weapon while
playing
playing.
includes, so that means those are not. So it's kind of a double
Vocalizing
negative.
an imaginary firearm.
Evidently somewhere.
Which member of Congress did this?
No, it's not Congress.
House.
It's a House bill.
It's a House bill.
It is.
It's House Bill 7,
And it was called the Pop-Tart bill.
and evidently a student.
Somewhere in the state of Florida, that
Designed it into the shape
yeah.
of a gun and received stern disciplinary action. So there's a bill for it now, so there you have it.
But so, no, so that I'm clear, because the attorney wasn't even clear. You're saying that these 7 things are not reason to have a child?
Yes.
Dismissed
It
from school.
says,
Yes,
Okay.
that's what it's saying.
And then if you read the however section, it explains the other piece to that as well.
If it disrupts student learning, causes bodily harm.
correct.
Okay.
It has to cause
If as a
disruption.
result
But the way it
of
is
that-
written, if you just read it,
It's a backwards one.
The only thing I would say is that just for clarity's sake, it probably should say toy weapon on 2 and 3,
Toy firearm.
because it says toy firearm or weapon.
Or
I
you're
think,
saying toy firearm or toy weapon.
right, because a razor blade is less than
Okay.
2 inches, so
Right, good, okay. Okay, we'll make those 2 changes. Okay.
Thank you, and we made it longer than 5 minutes.
And this will come out on,
the 28th.
The 28-day
yeah,
read.
do the 28 day
Yes.
publishing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. Okay, Dr. Moxley. Board members can wait till later to have your work on it? Thank you. Superintendent?